Let's go ahead and get ourselves started again. We're taking a look at the whole issue of how we create schedules, door schedules, window schedules, room schedules, and within schedules, how we can filter and sort and just control how the information is displayed, just to make it a little bit more relatable and easier to understand. So you can see in this initial version of my door schedule that we created in the last module, it's showing up as a very flat list. All the different doors are listed. They're all kind of listed at the same sort of level of hierarchy. There's not much organization to it. So I might want to go through and start filtering out some things that I don't want to have appear in this list, and then organize the things that do appear in the list. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you can do that. I'll start with the issue of filtering. Filtering is pretty easy. What we'll do is we'll choose to open the schedule, again, just by double-clicking on it in the project browser. And now we can choose the filter in the properties palette. We can now specify some specific criteria you want to filter by. And the idea here is what you want to specify is basically what you want to have included. Okay, so you always have to think about this. For example, if I want to take out those curtain wall double glass doors, which are greater than 7 feet tall, I can say, let's take a look at the height. And what I want to include is things that are less than or equal to 7 feet. That's what I'll enter. So be thinking about whether you're going to sort of specify how things are included or how things are excluded. You might have to kind of flip the criterion around a little bit. So I'll go through and apply that filter. You can see I have a much smaller list right now. All those curtain wall double glass ones are in there. The reason I had to use the height, just to be perfectly honest, is although I'd want to take out the family and type, that's just not one of the things I can filter by. So I had to come up with another way of doing that. Okay, next up we might look at the issue of sorting and grouping. And you can see they're kind of in a pseudo sorted order, but not exactly a great order. So if I want to sort things together, I can again open the schedule and look at the sorting and grouping properties. If I'm going to go through and sort this, let me say, I usually like to sort by level first. Then within the levels, I can choose, some criterion that I want to specify. Let's go ahead, maybe I'll do it by family and type. Super. Okay, so I have first by level, then by family and type. If I just say OK now, they'll be in that order, but there's not much breaking. There's no like lines separating things. So what I'll usually do is go one step further and put some lines, a header and a footer, and maybe even a blank line between them. Okay, it makes it a little bit easier to read. So we're doing pretty good here. That's actually looking pretty nice. You can see that there are 9 at level 1. There are 20 at level 2. There are 19 at level 3. Okay, so that's a pretty good starting point. But let's go even one step further. There's kind of a very nice option available within sorting and grouping called itemize every instance. And you can decide as you look at this schedule, you might see there are a bunch of different doors which are very similar. So I got 4 of these 32 by 84s. I have a whole bunch of these 36 by 84s. And you can decide whether you want to have them all appear individually or whether you want them to group together. And if you prefer to have them group together, what you can do is turn off itemize every instance. And then we have a much smaller list. Now, so in this list, every unique row, everything where the values were unique in some way from another row is showing up as a row that's maintained here. However, now we know there's 9, but I'm only seeing 3 here. So you might wonder how many of each of these doors there are. So to see that, what I need to do is add back in a field. I'm going to add this field in called count. And if you turn off the itemize every instance, you're going to find that the count is really useful for you. Because what it can do is just show you the number of doors of each of those different types. So that's just kind of a choice. Some people prefer to see every door listed individually. Some people prefer to see groups and just have the count in there. You just decide which way you'd like that to be. Okay, so we're doing pretty good in terms of setting up those different rows. That's actually looking pretty good. Let me go through and do a similar thing to the window schedule. So I got my window schedule here. Maybe again, I will group that by level, then by family and type. That's looking pretty good. And I can decide whether I want to itemize every instance or not. I'll put on these footers here. Super. So there they're all itemized. Oops, let me turn that off. Right there. Now, you might be wondering about, in fact, let me even go through and put the fields. I'll put that count in there just because I like it when I don't itemize. So now I know how many of those windows there are all over the place. Okay, you might be saying, hey, this is all great, but how many windows are there overall? Can I get a grand total on this thing? And you can. What you can do is back in sorting and grouping, you can actually turn on grand totals too. And what that'll do is it'll put a special row down at the bottom, which is nothing but that grand total. And that grand total we can use to sort of summarize the count or just, but in just a few moments in the next module, we're going to show you how we can actually add a subtotal through the whole thing. So now we see there's 51 of them in there. Okay, let's go ahead and think about adding some summary statistics for this whole thing. So if we can find something that we would like to add up or somehow just kind of put a summary statistic on, we can add a space where on the grand total line we include the total of those things. So for example, if I wanted to total up the counts of all these different windows and have something that adds that all up, what I can do here is come over to the formatting tab, and I'll apologize for this because I think it's actually implemented in a strange way in the Revit interface. First, we had to add the grand total line so that we had the ability to put a total in there, but now we're going to choose the field that we want. And if I want to choose the count field and then total it, I can. And now you can see there's 51 of them down there. Now, that may not seem so useful in the window schedule, but let's go to the room schedule, which is another one that we've been working with. You sort of see we have the areas here. That's looking good for all the different rooms and all the different floors. If you're thinking how much total area is in the building right now and you want to summarize that so that you don't have to kind of keep on recomputing that, you just want it to come out of the schedule, what you can do is under sorting and grouping, again, turn on the grand total. First important part, you just need a line for the total to show up on. Then you can go over to formatting, and we can say that I want to total the area column. You can either have a minimum or a maximum. I'm going to get the total. So you can see that there's a total of 27,509 square feet, which is hopefully going to be useful to you. Okay, some other things just about the appearance tab that you need to know about, actually the formatting tab, is that you can also change the appearance of different fields. So for example, if on the areas you'd like to right align them since they're numbers, that's fine. You could also start changing the field formatting. In general, the same formatting can be used for the entire project. But if, for example, instead of using the project settings, you want to use square feet, but, oh, let me use digit grouping. That'll put the commas in between the thousands. You can do that and just make things a little bit easier to read. Okay, so the whole idea here is go through, organize your schedule so they're not just flat lists, but they have information in a way that's most useful to you. And then those schedules in their new, improved, updated, formatted form will be showing up on the sheets. So if I go back to those sheets, you might remember, we put some things on some sheets. I might have to pull that around a little bit. But now we can have our schedules appearing on the sheets kind of with the information the way that we'd like to see it formatted. And the good thing about all these schedules is they're completely dynamic. So if anything changes in your model, if you add a window or a door or change the size of some of the rooms, these schedules are going to update automatically. So your schedules are always completely up to date. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and practice that on your building. Go ahead and take those doors and window and room schedules that you've been working with and see if you can get them formatted just a little bit more nicely so that they can be easier for your consumers to understand.